Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Conversations with the Soul. I'm Rita Hickman, and I'm a body-mind expert and owner of Inspire Massage. I'm a shiatsu massage therapist in the Chicagoland area in Northern Illinois. So I do these live streams Monday through Friday, starting at 8:15, and they're all on body, mind, and metaphysical concepts. Because that's been my passion since I was young, the body, mind, and how we actually work. So today's topic is biohacking happiness. So this weekend, I tend to have this obsession about, as I said, how we work. Good morning, Kathy. Nice to see you. I have this obsession about how we work, about what actually affects how we feel. When my husband is gone, and he's gone on a trip for a week, it gives me a great opportunity to really dive into the habits and the patterns that I have in my life. It lets me watch the documentaries that I've been waiting, to see, read the books I've been waiting on, because it's just one less concern or thought that I have to have on my mind. It frees up a little bit of space for personal growth, which is perfect. So I love to take advantage of those times for that. So this weekend, I watched a documentary called Happy. And, since I was a kid and I came from some tough, challenges, I had struggled with feeling happy for a long time. My default mechanism was anxiety. It was anxiety and stress. And so because those were so high, it started me on this journey really early on in my life to figure out what's going on. How do we be authentically happy? What's really underneath it? So in this great documentary I was watching, it talked about the basics of being happy. And they said 50% is genetics, but only 10% is circumstances, and 40% is our value system. And when they talk about value system, they don't talk about, religion or ethics or things along those lines. What they're talking about are the things that we value in life the most. So most people are a little surprised, thinking that circumstances have a much bigger role to play in how happy we are. In actuality, our bodies are designed, whether something bad or something good happens to us, they're chemical releases from our body. And those chemical releases actually flush out of our system pretty quick. And so when we've got healthy habits or healthy values in place, it allows us to adapt and have resiliency to the circumstances in our life. But 40% are our values. And when they talk about those values, they talk about the things that we have as our patterns and our habits every day. And for what makes us feel happy and what makes us feel good, here are the basics. One of the first ones, and you've all heard about it, is exercise. Exercise, they say, is equivalent to cocaine. It's equivalent to heroin, and it can be equivalent to high levels of antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications, because exercise releases tremendous amounts of dopamine. But the neat thing I didn't know about is they talked about exercise in novel ways. So it's not about exercise, you do the same routine, you do the same thing, you go to the gym, you do this, you do that, you do the other thing. It's about exercising and movement in really novel ways, ways that you wouldn't do on a regular basis. So the example they gave were people doing a fun run dressed up in gorilla costumes so that, they could really have fun with it and play with it. So exercise in relationship to play is one of the biggest, most powerful ways you can have a boost in your mood. So for me, what I do is I go to the gym. And when I go to the gym, I've got a playlist of thousands of songs, and they're on random. So I have no idea what's going to be playing while I'm walking or moving or exercising or working out. And this unexpected and new music and new experiences like that are what makes my exercise and movement novel. So it's that novelty, that curiosity, that sense of fun while you're moving that does the biggest rush of a dopamine into your system. So one of the next highest causes or biohacks behind happiness is giving back, is service. When we give to people, when we are of service to people, and this can be even if it's in our minds, even if it's choices that we're making to let something go or forgive somebody, it gets us out of our own patterns and our own habits. And that focusing on service brings up our dopamine levels pretty high. They talked about how in Denmark, it's one of the highest happiness countries in the world. And one of the reasons they do that, or one of the reasons they have that happiness, is they live in communities and a lot of communal housing. And one of the purposes is in the communal housing, people are there as a community. They cook together, they eat together. It's not, overwhelming pressure if you can't get away from anyone, but there's a lot of community that's involved and a lot of service to others. And in that community and giving to other people, it boosts your dopamine level. It boosts your emotional pieces. Which leads me to the next biohack, which is community. When we get community, when we feel connected to other people on a rich level, when we've got that empathy and we feel what they're feeling and we're engaged with them in a positive way, that community is another big dopamine rush. It's another big high that gets us through the day and gets us going. Then they talked about loving kindness meditations and focusing on taking that time every day to focus on that loving kindness, to focus on that compassion. Because what we focus on is what strengthens, is what grows. So when we focus on how angry we are, or how hurt we are, or frustrated, when we focus on those for a long period of time, then that creates a stronger and stronger neural highway in our brain. And that becomes what we're valuing. We're valuing or paying the most attention to things that don't feel good. And so it becomes easier and easier to go down that path when we spend a lot of time in those thoughts. On the opposite side, if you don't let yourself feel things and flush things out of your body, then on the surface, you're saying happiness things and positive mantras and positive affirmations, but underneath, you're still stressed out because positive affirmations are only a positive smear. It's only like 10% over 90% of maybe the negative thoughts or negative feelings that you have going on. Which leads me to feelings. A lot of what we feel in life, a lot of what we interpret as anxiety or anger or discomfort or sadness is our bodies not feeling good. And then because our minds are wired to try to find the reason we don't feel good, we look for all of these external circumstances. We look for all of these things which we think are making us not feel good. And we're looking in the wrong direction. Because as we said, only 10% of happiness is circumstances, and 40% are these everyday choices, the things that we're passionate about and that we value. So our minds are designed and wired to look for the cause of something that's going on. And so when we feel something, when our stomach is upset, when we've got tension in our abdomen, when our heart hurts, when something usually having to do with one of our organs is uncomfortable, then our minds look for the reason. There's a lot of great science and research behind this. Of our thoughts are how we've been trained to interpret how we feel. And a lot of stress that most of us are under is the stress of trying not to feel what we're feeling. So how do we work on that felt sense? How do we work on those things that make us not feel good? And then because of in our society, we're encouraged to, say it's because our home life is bad, or it's because our job isn't good, or it's because our relationships aren't good, or we're lonely, or we're depressed. We're trained to look for external reasons, societal reasons, or circumstances as to why we don't feel good, but it's only 10% of that. So the 40%, those choices and why we do or don't feel good, have a lot to do with what we put in our body and what we're doing with our body. So I also ran across this great article. I love Asian medicine. It's a big part of my practice. Shiatsu is based on Asian medicine. And in this great movie, Happy, that I watched, they talked about how in Okinawa, Japan, they have the most number of citizens who are over 100 years old. And part of the reason they're over 100 years old is because they feel good, because they feel good, they're happy. Happy is based on how good they feel. And they feel good because they get a lot of their basic needs met, and because they have a lot of traditions which go back tens of thousands of years that they focused on in order to help themselves feel good. And one of my favorites, and you've heard me talk about it before, is water. And it's something they do called a water treatment. So in the morning, they drink 20 ounces of water. For them, it's about, it's 4 5-ounce glasses. But if you need a reference, you know, a normal bottle of water is at least 16 ounces. So that's almost 20 ounces. Now, mine is yellow because I put ginger in it, or I'll put chamomile tea in it because I like to keep my inflammation down. So they will drink 20 ounces of water first thing in the morning and then wait 45 minutes before they eat anything and before they really get on with their day. They give themselves that 45 minutes to drink their water and to let themselves sort of settle into the day. So what does drinking that 20 ounces of water do? Well, one of the things it does is it gets our digestive system going. So while we sleep, our body is pulling out and healing all of the toxins and all of the damage that we've done for the day. It's bringing out the cellular waste and it's putting it into our digestive system. And when we drink the water, it kicks our digestive system into gear. And so we're able to flush out all of those things, all of those poisons that are making us not feel good, that are making our body feel inflamed. We're able to flush those out so much faster than if we wait. So that 20 ounces of water gets the things out of our system that are making us feel bad. And so the sooner in the day, as soon as you wake up, if you can drink that water, it will start to make you feel good. And usually within about 45 minutes, it'll start to create the foundation for your day. So if you value feeling good and caring about your body, then when you wake up, you will drink at least 1 glass, but the Japanese water tradition says at least 20. And they call this the water cure. And in the water cure, it's used for getting rid of gout because it flushes out, good morning, Karen, because it flushes out the uric acid that causes gout. It talks about heart disease, and within 30 days, it can reverse heart problems and high blood pressure because it's getting your body to flush out all of those things that that are making you not feel good, that are causing problems with your heart. If you do a quick Google, you'll find that the Japanese water treatment is tremendous for feeling good in the mornings, tremendous for feeling good throughout the day. Then they also suggest 30 minutes before you eat that you drink water, and then 15 minutes after you eat, you can still drink some water, but then give it at least a half an hour. All of these keep your digestive system in a really good place. And when it's in a good place, then you're happy. I had a friend of mine who, when they were growing up, when they were in a bad mood, their parents or, elders would say, "Do you need an enema?" Because they understood the connection between digestive health and happiness. So since we're on the topic of digestive health, If you can do things like get a probiotic into your system and get more fiber into your system, you are going to naturally feel happy. It's a natural side effect to it. So when you get this sorted out, you will feel better. They've had tons of research and tons of connections between depression and inflammation in your body. Now, for modern medicine, in their thought process, it says, okay, then we need to give people who are depressed high levels of anti-inflammatories. And that may be true. That is a quick fix, a quick hack. I mean, I know when I take Advil, liquid gels before I go to bed for a headache, in the morning I wake up feeling great because my inflammation is down. But other ways to get your inflammation down is really to get those toxins and that poison out of your body as soon as possible. Some people use cucumber water, some people use lemon water, and warm room temperature water is the best. Actually, 98 degrees is the best because then your body doesn't have to work so hard. But I just keep mine at room temperature right next to my bed, and then I keep it everywhere. So it's not just about how much water you drink throughout the day. It's about when you drink your water. And first thing in the morning gets everything out. So your focus for happiness needs to be about getting the inflammation down in your body, as well as doing things that give you big dopamine releases, which are novel movement. Maybe you don't want to run around in a monkey costume, but maybe you want to listen to music like I do, random music that you don't know what's going to play that you love, that keeps things fresh and interesting. You want to connect with people on a real meaningful basis. The problem is when we don't feel good, the last thing we want to do is be around people because it's a lot of work, because we have to pretend that we don't feel good. I totally get that. Then you've got this mask of powering through and pretending that everything's okay, and now you have to do it while surrounded by other people. Some people find that as a good distraction for how they feel. I just find it a lot of work because I'm more of an introvert. And so you really need to work on feeling better in your body first, getting your body to feel better, and then you can start working on these other pieces like community or giving back to people. Because I really do know if you don't feel good, it's very hard to engage and interact. It's very hard to do anything. And so, as I said, the first two things which are most important to my happiness is getting my water first thing in the morning, 20 ounces, and then getting out and doing something that's fun and engaging and interesting. Now, here's something that has been in research lately, but has been around probably for a decade or so, and has been known in a lot of religious traditions. It's about fasting. So they've been finding, science has been backing up the positive benefits of intermittent fasting. So on the really strong health end, if you fast for 3 days, then your immune system resets itself. It's able to deal with a lot of situations when your body's out of balance, whether it be cancer, whether it be disease, all sorts of things like that. When you do a 3-day fast, it's as if it tells your body to completely repair itself. It pushes the reset button. So a 3-day fast, as long as it's, okayed by your doctor, is an extremely healthy thing to do. That's probably how things like Lent came about, or fasting in all of these other religious traditions. But even if you don't fast for 3 days, if you do fasting, let's say for 1 day, what it does is it gives your body a chance to repair itself. It gives it a chance to flush out all the things in your body that are making you not feel good, that are making you unhappy. So a lot of people then ask me, do I need to get rid of all of my unhealthy habits? Do I need to get rid of all of my coping skills? The ice cream and the donuts and the reading good books for hours on end, and the computer games and the coffee and the wine and all the things which I've brought into my life in order to cope with the fact that I don't feel good, or that I'm trying to not feel that I don't feel good. You don't have to get rid of any of those things. What you start to find is when you bring in, good morning, Ro, when you bring in those healthier habits, that water, that connection, that service, when you bring those in, then your need and your dependency on all those unhealthy habits goes way, way down. And so the unhealthy habits are part of what makes you not feel good. We already know that. You know, it feels good on the short term, but in the long term, when we wake up the next day, we feel rotten and we don't feel happy because of how bad we feel. Or throughout the day, the choices that we make, we don't feel happy because of how we feel. So don't get rid of your bad habits. Start by bringing in healthier habits like the water cure, so that you aren't dependent on these things which are making you feel bad in the long run. And you're able to start getting rid of them, and they start to gently move out of your life. They start to gently fade away because you don't need them anymore. So don't get terribly attached to that. Don't beat yourself up. Oh, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do that, about how you can't change your life immediately. Instead, bring in these healthy habits that we've talked about, and it will move you on the right track. So if you would love to stay on this happiness path, I think I'm going to focus more on keeping us on these path, on these live streams, on things that we can do to stay on the path of feeling good, the body-mind things, rather than the big wiggy things, which are great, but bypass what's really going on in our system. I think that's going to be one of my biggest focuses. So if you'd love to stay on top of this, if you'd love to join me on this challenge to continue to be happier and happier in life, go to inspiredmassage.com and sign up for our emails, because then you'll get these replays, daily inspirations, plus tons of tips. Because remember, I'm obsessed about this stuff. I'm obsessed about what makes us feel good. And so, of course, I'm going to pass it on to all of you. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm also looking for guests. If you'd like to be a guest in the future, leave a comment or a message. And Facebook makes it really easy to bring on guests when we do live streams. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.